My beloved child, before you listen to another word, be still for a moment. You have spent so much time telling everyone that you are fine. When they ask how you are doing, you smile and say, "I'm all right. I'm just a little tired. I'll be okay." Then you ask about their day, so they will not ask any more questions about yours. But I know what happens after everyone leaves. I know what happens when the house becomes quiet, when the television is turned off, when the dishes are put away, and there is nothing left to distract you. That is when tomorrow walks into the room. You lie down, close your eyes, and remember the appointment written on next week's calendar. You wonder what the doctor will say. You think about the test result you are still waiting for. You notice the ache in your body again, and your mind begins giving it names. You reach for your phone, search for an answer, read one page, then another, and put the phone down, feeling more afraid than before. My child, I was there. I saw you open your banking app, look at the money that remained, and begin counting the days until the next payment was due. You added the rent, the electricity bill, the medication, the groceries. Then you locked the screen, not because you had found a solution, but because looking at the number again would not make it larger. I saw the unopened envelope lying on the table. You already knew it was another bill. You walked past it several times, telling yourself you would open it later. But each time you passed, your eyes still went to it. I saw you standing in front of the refrigerator, trying to decide what could wait until next week. I heard you say, "We don't really need that right now," but the truth was, you were trying to make what you had last a little longer. I saw you sitting in your car after you arrived home. The engine was off. Your hand was still resting on the steering wheel. You could see the lights inside the house, but you stayed in the driveway for a few more minutes. You were not avoiding the people you love. You were trying to leave your worries in the car so they would not see them on your face. Then you opened the door, walked inside, and became the strong one again. My beloved child, I saw that too. I saw you look at your husband sleeping beside you and quietly wonder, what will happen to him if something happens to me? I saw you look at your wife across the dinner table, notice how tired she had become, and wonder how much longer she could keep going. I saw you open your child's bedroom door, just enough to see that they were safely inside. You wanted to ask what was wrong. You wanted to know why they had become so quiet. But you were afraid they would say, "I'm fine," in the same way you have been saying it. I saw you read the message your son sent. Only a few words, no explanation. You started typing a reply, deleted it, typed another one, then put the phone down because you did not know how to reach him anymore. I saw you visit your daughter's social media page, watch her smile in every picture, and wonder why she had not called you in weeks. I heard the question you were afraid to say aloud, "Will my child ever come back to you?" My child, I heard it. I heard every prayer you whispered for your family. I heard the names you repeated before falling asleep. I heard you ask me to protect people who do not even know you are praying for them. I saw the tears you wiped away quickly, because someone was about to walk into the room. I saw you turn your face toward the window, so no one would notice your eyes. I saw you lower your voice while speaking on the phone, because you did not want your family to hear how serious the situation had become. Nothing about your life has been hidden from me. Not the medical report folded inside the drawer, not the bottle of pills beside your bed, not the past due notice under the pile of mail, not the application you submitted and never heard back about, not the photograph you still cannot put away, not the empty chair you try not to look at during dinner, not the phone number you still have not deleted. Even though you know that person will never call again, I know why certain dates on the calendar are difficult for you. I know why some songs make you leave the room. I know why a late-night phone call makes your heart beat faster. I know why you check that the doors are locked more than once. I know why you wake before sunrise, reach toward the other side of the bed, and remember that life is no longer the way it used to be. My beloved child, you have carried these things so quietly that people have begun calling you strong. They see you showing up. They see you working. They see you caring for everyone else. They see you prepare the meals, answer the calls, keep the appointments, pay what you can, and find a way to get through another day. But they do not see what it costs you. They do not see you standing in the bathroom, taking one slow breath before returning to the family. They do not see you sitting at the edge of the bed in the morning, trying to gather enough strength to put your feet on the floor. They do not see you checking your phone during the night, hoping for a message, and fearing one at the same time. They do not see your mind moving from one problem to another, even while someone is speaking to you. But I see it all, and I want you to understand something. You have started carrying tomorrow before tomorrow arrives. You call it being careful. You call it planning ahead. You tell yourself, if I think through every possibility, nothing will catch me by surprise. So you prepare for conversations that have not happened. You imagine sitting across from the doctor. You decide what you will say if the news is bad. You picture the meeting with your employer. You think about what you will do if the job is gone. You calculate how long your savings will last. You imagine which bills you will pay first, and which ones you will have to delay. You think about who will care for your family if one day you cannot. You try to solve next month, while standing in the middle of today. My child, I know why you do it. You are not trying to make yourself suffer. You are trying to keep suffering from surprising you again. Perhaps there was a day when the phone rang, and one conversation changed everything. Perhaps you went to an ordinary appointment, expecting to return home with ordinary news. But the doctor closed the door, sat down, and spoke words you were not ready to hear. Perhaps someone you loved left the house one morning, and you did not know it would be the last time you saw them. Perhaps you trusted someone who promised to stay, and then watched them leave. Perhaps you prayed for an answer, waited for weeks, then months, and nothing happened the way you hoped. After that, your heart made a quiet decision: never be unprepared again. So now, when the phone rings after midnight, you expect bad news before you answer. When an unfamiliar number appears, your stomach tightens. When someone says, "We need to talk," your mind begins searching for what went wrong. When your child does not reply, you call again, then check the time, then imagine where they might be. When a new pain appears in your body, you think about the person you knew who began with the same symptom. When your employer asks for a meeting, you spend the entire night wondering whether you are about to lose your job. When your spouse becomes quiet, you search every conversation from the past week, trying to find the moment you may have done something wrong. You believe that expecting the worst will make the worst hurt less. But my child, it has not protected your heart. It has only made you live through pain before you know whether that pain will ever come. How many times have you lost sleep over a conversation that never happened? How many times have you prepared for bad news and the call never came? How many times have you imagined losing something, then opened your eyes the next morning and found it was still there? You have spent entire nights inside days that never existed. You have cried over endings I had not written. You have said goodbye to people who were still sleeping safely in the next room. You have counted money you had not yet needed to spend. You have carried diagnoses no doctor had given you. You have fought arguments no one had started. You have tried to survive tomorrows that never came. And then, when the real morning arrived, you were already tired. My beloved child, this is why your soul feels worn down. It is not only today's work that has exhausted you. You have also been doing tomorrow's work in your mind. Today had its own bills, but you added next month's. Today had its own appointment, but you added the result before it arrived. Today had its own conversation, but you added every possible answer. Today had its own pain, but you added every pain you feared might follow. Every evening, you bring tomorrow into the bedroom. You place it on the pillow beside you. You turn off the light, but continue talking to it. What if this happens? What if that changes? What if I cannot fix it? What if I lose them? What if I am left alone? Then you ask me for peace, while still holding every question tightly in your hands. My child, I am not angry with you. I am not standing over you, asking why your faith is not stronger. I know what you have lived through. I know what was taken from you. I know which prayers seem to end in silence. I know how many times you had to keep functioning before you had time to grieve. I know why your heart keeps watching the door. I know why it listens for footsteps. I know why it prepares for the next loss, even during a peaceful day. But I also know what this burden is doing to you. You are sitting with the people you love, but your mind is already at the day you may lose them. You are eating today's meal, but worrying about next month's groceries. You are holding your grandchild, but wondering whether you will live long enough to see them grow. You are walking out of the doctor's office, but your mind is already inside the hospital room. You are still employed, but you have already imagined packing your desk. You are still married, but you have already imagined an empty side of the bed. You are still here, but fear keeps asking you to live as though everything has already been taken away. My beloved child, look at me, not at the calendar, not at the account balance, not at the unread message, not at the envelope on the table, not at the appointment you cannot control. Look at me. You have faced days before that you once believed would destroy you. There was a morning when you did not know how you would get through the next hour, but you got out of bed. You washed your face. You put on your clothes. You took the next step. And when you had no strength for the whole day, I gave you enough for the next moment. There was a bill you did not know how you would pay. There was a door you needed to open. There was a conversation you did not know how to begin. There was a season when the house felt too quiet, and another season when the noise felt like too much. There were nights when you cried into your pillow because you did not want anyone to hear. There were days when you prayed only a few words because a few words were all you had left. Yet you are still here. Not because everything happened the way you wanted. Not because you always understood what I was doing. Not because you were strong every day. You are here because I did not leave you. Think of the problem that once filled your whole mind, but no longer controls your life. Think of the door that closed, and the place I led you afterward. Think of the person you thought you could not live without, and the strength I gave you when life changed. Think of the prayer you believed I had forgotten, until years later, when you finally understood why the answer had not come in the way you expected. You have already seen me provide, one day at a time, not always early, not always in the way you planned, but never one moment later than the strength you truly needed. My child, you are not afraid only of what tomorrow may bring. You are afraid that tomorrow will ask more from you than you will be able to give. You are afraid you will receive bad news and fall apart. You are afraid someone you love will need you, and you will not know what to do. You are afraid the money will run out. You are afraid your body will become weaker. You are afraid your family will change. You are afraid you will have to walk through another loss, and this time you will not recover. Listen carefully to me. You do not need today's strength for tomorrow's pain. You do not need tomorrow's answer tonight. You do not need the words for a conversation that has not yet begun. You do not need the money for a bill that has not yet arrived. You do not need the courage for a diagnosis you have not received. You do not need the grace for a goodbye. I have not asked you to say. The strength you have today was given for today. When tomorrow becomes today, the strength for that day will be there too. You may not be able to see it from where you are standing now, but you could not see today's strength yesterday either. And still, when this morning came, I met you here. My beloved child, tomorrow has never been waiting for you alone. Before you wake up, I will already be there. Before the phone rings, I will be there. Before the doctor speaks, I will be there. Before you open the envelope, I will be there. Before you walk into the meeting, I will be there. Before your family needs you, I will be there. Before the road becomes difficult, my hand will already be on it. You keep trying to arrive in tomorrow to make sure someone is there waiting for you. I am. You keep looking ahead, trying to see whether the way will be safe. You cannot see everything from today, but you can see me, and I am already standing in every place. You are afraid you may have to go, so stay with me, because I want to show you why your heart has been working so hard, even when your body is trying to rest. And I want to teach you how to stop living tomorrow twice, so you can finally receive the peace I have placed inside today. My beloved child, there is something I want you to notice. Most of the pain you feel about tomorrow does not come from what has happened. It comes from what your mind keeps telling you may happen. You feel a pain in your chest, and before the doctor has examined you, your mind is already inside a hospital room. Your employer sends a short message, "We need to talk." And before the meeting begins, you have already imagined losing your job. Your child does not answer the phone, and within minutes, your mind has created 10 different reasons why. You see an unfamiliar charge on the bank statement, and immediately begin wondering what else you will not be able to afford. Nothing has happened yet, but your body does not know that. Your heart begins beating faster, your shoulders tighten, your stomach feels heavy. You stop hearing the person speaking beside you. You try to sleep, but your mind keeps returning to the same picture. My child, fear does not need tomorrow to arrive. It only needs you to imagine tomorrow clearly enough that your body begins living there. That is how it steals your peace, not by changing your future, but by pulling you out of the day I have given you. You can be sitting at the dinner table, with food in front of you, and people you love nearby, yet your mind is somewhere else. Your grandchild is telling you a story, but you only hear half of it. Someone laughs, and you smile a few seconds late, because you were thinking about the appointment next week. Your spouse asks, "Are you listening?" And you say, "Yes," but you know you are not. You can receive good news and still be afraid to enjoy it. The doctor says the first test looks normal, but your mind immediately asks, what if the next one is not? Your child says they are doing better, but you watch their face, searching for a sign they may be hiding something. A bill is finally paid, but instead of feeling relief, you begin thinking about the next one. You wake up after a peaceful night, then wonder how long the peace will last. My beloved child, you have become afraid to relax, because somewhere inside you, you believe that the moment you stop watching, something bad will happen, so you keep checking. You check the phone, you check the account, you check the door, you check the calendar, you check your body, you check the faces of the people you love. You look for changes in their voice. You notice when a message is shorter than usual. You notice when someone says, "I'm fine," a little too quickly. You notice every silence, every delay, every small difference. And by the end of the day, you are exhausted, even though the thing you feared never happened. My child, this did not begin because you are weak. It began because life surprised you once. Perhaps you were washing dishes when the phone rang. Perhaps you were driving to work when someone called and told you to come quickly. Perhaps you walked into a doctor's office, expecting a routine appointment, and left carrying news that changed your plans. Perhaps someone promised they would stay, then one day packed their things and left. Perhaps you spoke to someone in the morning, and by evening, everything had changed. After that, you stopped trusting ordinary days. A quiet afternoon no longer felt quiet. It felt like the time before bad news. A ringing phone was no longer just a ringing phone. It became a warning. A delayed reply was no longer just a delayed reply. It became a reason to fear. A pain in your body was no longer just a pain. It became the beginning of a diagnosis. A difficult month was no longer just a difficult month. It became proof that everything was about to fall apart. My beloved child, your heart learned to stand guard. It told itself, if I stay alert, I will not be caught unprepared again. So you began rehearsing bad news before it came. You began planning what you would do if someone left. You began thinking about funeral arrangements while the person you loved was still sitting beside you. You began wondering who would take care of your family while you were still making breakfast for them. You began imagining how you would live alone while your spouse was sleeping in the next room. You began deciding what you would sell before you knew whether the money would be needed. You began saying goodbye in your mind to people I had not asked you to release. You thought this would make pain easier, but it only made you feel pain twice. Once in your imagination, and again only if the day truly came. My child, there is a lie hidden inside all of this. The lie says, if I worry enough, I will be ready. But worry has not made you ready. It has made you tired. It has taken peaceful moments and filled them with unfinished disasters. It has made you sit beside people you love while already grieving their absence. It has made you look at blessings and immediately calculate how they could be lost. It has made you receive today's bread while thinking about next month's hunger. It has made you stand in a safe room and search for the nearest danger. My beloved child, that voice is not mine. When I give you a quiet morning, I am not asking you to spend it waiting for bad news. When I allow someone you love to sit beside you, I am not asking you to imagine their empty chair. When I place food on your table, I am not asking you to taste a future shortage. When I give you a day without pain, I am not asking you to search your body for what may hurt tomorrow. When I give you a moment of laughter, I am not asking you to stop and wonder when the sadness will return. I am asking you to receive what is here. This meal, this conversation, this breath, this ordinary afternoon, this person sitting across from you, this day. My child, you have missed many peaceful moments, not because peace was absent, but because fear told you not to trust it. You watched your grandchild play, while thinking about how quickly children grow. You held your spouse's hand, while wondering how many years you had left together. You sat in your own home, while calculating whether you might lose it. You heard someone say, I love you, but your mind answered, what if one day they do not? Fear keeps turning every gift into something you must prepare to lose. But I did not give you love so you could practice living without it. I did not give you today so you could spend it mourning tomorrow. My beloved child, do you remember my people in the wilderness? Each morning they stepped outside and found food waiting on the ground. They had not planted it. They had not purchased it. They had not stored it. It was simply there, enough for the day. Some gathered for their children. Some gathered for older parents. Some gathered with tired hands. Some probably looked at what they had collected, then looked toward the empty desert ahead and wondered, "What will we eat tomorrow?" So they kept more than they needed. They placed it inside their tents, because seeing extra food made them feel safer. But by the next morning, what they had saved was spoiled. Not because I wanted them to go hungry, because I wanted them to learn something fear still tries to hide from you. Tomorrow's provision could not be collected today. They had to wake up, step outside, and trust me again. My child, you are doing the same thing in your heart. You are trying to gather tomorrow's strength tonight. You ask yourself, how will I handle it if the doctor gives me bad news? But I have not given you that strength today, because today you have not received that news. You ask, how will I survive if I lose the person I love? But I have not given you the grace for that loss, because today that person is still here. You ask, what will I do if the money runs out? But I have not shown you the answer for that day, because today that day has not arrived. You ask, how will I care for everyone if I become sick? But you are asking today's body to carry a burden that may never be placed upon it. My beloved child, you mistake the absence of tomorrow's strength for the absence of my care. You think, if I cannot see how I will survive it, then perhaps I will not. But there were many days in your past that you could not imagine surviving, and still, when those days came, you found enough strength to take the next step. Not the strength for the whole year, not the answer to every question, enough for the next phone call, enough for the next appointment, enough to sign the paper, enough to walk into the room, enough to prepare one meal, enough to make one decision, enough to get through one night. That was how I carried you, not by showing you the entire road, but by giving you enough light for the part beneath your feet. Think back. There was a morning when you sat on the edge of the bed and did not know how to stand, but you stood. There was a day when you had to make a call you had been avoiding for weeks, but you made it. There was a season when you thought laughter had left your life. Then one day, someone said something simple, and you heard yourself laugh again. There was a time when the empty room felt unbearable. Then slowly, you learned how to walk past the door. There was a time when every reminder brought tears. Then one morning, you remembered something good and smiled before you cried. My child, healing did not arrive all at once. Strength did not arrive all at once. Hope did not return all at once. It came in small portions, one morning, one conversation, one breath, one ordinary day after another. That was not an accident. That was my daily provision. But you often remember the day everything changed, and forget all the days I helped you continue afterward. You remember the hospital room, but forget the people I placed beside you. You remember the closed door, but forget where I led you next. You remember the night you cried, but forget the morning you finally slept. You remember the prayer that was not answered in the way you wanted, but forget the strength that kept you from breaking. You remember what was taken, but overlook what remained. So when another uncertain day appears, fear says, this time you will be alone. My beloved child, that is the lie. You were not alone in the last hard season. You may have felt alone. You may have sat in an empty room. You may have walked through the hospital corridor without anyone beside you. You may have signed papers with shaking hands. You may have driven home in silence. But I was there. I was there when you received the call. I was there when you closed the bedroom door and finally cried. I was there when you woke in the middle of the night and reached for someone who was no longer there. I was there when you prayed without knowing what words to use. I was there when all you could say was, please help me. And I was there when you said nothing at all. My child, I did not always remove the difficult road, but I never asked you to walk it without me. There were answers you did not understand. There were outcomes you would not have chosen. There were prayers that seemed to disappear into silence, but there was never one moment when I stopped holding you. Not when you were angry with me, not when you doubted, not when you stopped praying for a while, not when you were too tired to believe anything good could happen again. I did not leave, and I will not begin leaving tomorrow. My beloved child, your future is not an empty room, where you will arrive and find no one waiting. Before you enter the doctor's office, I will be there. Before you hear the answer, I will be there. Before you open the message, I will be there. Before you make the decision, I will be there. Before you face the loss, I will be there. Before you need the strength, I will be there. You do not need to gather all of tomorrow's courage tonight. You do not need to solve next year before you finish this day. You do not need to keep watch over every person you love while they sleep. You are allowed to close your eyes. You are allowed to enjoy the meal in front of you. You are allowed to laugh without asking how long it will last. You are allowed to receive good news without immediately preparing for bad news. You are allowed to be present in a peaceful moment without searching for the next storm. Because your peace does not come from knowing that nothing will change. Your peace comes from knowing that when life changes, I will still be there. Stay with me, because there is one more burden you have been carrying without realizing it. You have been trying to stand in a place that belongs only to me. And when you understand this, you will finally see why tomorrow was never meant to rest on your shoulders. My beloved child, there is something I have watched you do over and over again. You step into tomorrow before I ever ask you to. You wake up, pour yourself a cup of coffee, sit down for a quiet moment, and before the first sip, your mind is already somewhere else. You are already sitting in next week's doctor's office. You are already opening next month's bills. You are already having next year's difficult conversation. You are already trying to solve a problem that has not even knocked on your door. My child, you leave today behind before today has even begun. Then you wonder why your heart feels tired before noon. I know why. Because you have quietly accepted a job I never asked you to do. You have been trying to manage a future that belongs to me. You would never say, I don't need you. I know that. You pray. You open my word. You thank me for my blessings. You ask me to guide your steps. But then something happens. The phone rings. An email arrives. The doctor schedules another appointment. The news begins talking about the economy. Your child says, we need to talk later. And without realizing it, you stop talking to me and begin talking to fear. What if it's bad news? What if I can't handle it? What if this changes everything? My child, how many conversations have you already had with people who have never said those words? How many times have you answered questions that no one has asked? How many apologies have you imagined giving? How many arguments have you replayed before the first sentence was ever spoken? How many nights have you watched someone you love sleeping and quietly wondered, what will I do if one day this side of the bed is empty? How many times have you looked at your own hands, noticed something small, and immediately wondered, what if this is how it begins? You have lived through so many tomorrows that never arrived. I saw every one of them. I was sitting beside you while you imagined standing alone. I watched you fold laundry while your mind was planning a funeral that never came. I watched you cook dinner while wondering how you would survive if someone you loved became sick. I watched you pay today's bills while trying to calculate expenses you may never have. I watched you hold your grandchild while quietly asking, will I live long enough to watch them grow up? My beloved child, your body was here, but your heart had already left. You have been trying to stand where only I can stand. Can I show you something? Imagine a little child trying to lift a suitcase nearly as tall as they are. They pull, they strain, they stop to catch their breath, they try again. Their father is standing only a few steps away, strong enough to lift it with one hand. The child is not struggling, because the suitcase is impossible. The child is struggling because they have not asked their father to carry it. My child, how many burdens are you still dragging while I am standing beside you? How many sleepless nights have you carried alone, even though I never stepped away? You keep asking, what if everything falls apart? May I ask you something instead? What if the only thing falling apart is the illusion that you were ever supposed to hold everything together? You believe your family depends on your worrying, but your worry has never kept a heart beating. Your worry has never made the sun rise. Your worry has never added one more day to someone's life. You stay awake, thinking someone has to keep watch. My child, I have never fallen asleep. While you were checking the locks again, I was already watching over your home. While you were lying awake, listening for the phone to ring, I was already holding the people you love. While you were trying to imagine every possible outcome, I already knew which one would become reality. You are trying to do what only I can do. Do you remember Peter? The wind was strong. The waves were real. Nothing about the storm was imagined. Yet Peter stepped out of the boat, not because the storm disappeared, because he was looking at me. As long as his eyes remained on me, he kept moving forward. Then he looked somewhere else. He looked at the waves. He measured the wind. He noticed the distance beneath his feet. Nothing around him had changed, only where he was looking. The storm became larger because I became smaller in his sight. My beloved child, hasn't that happened to you? You begin the morning talking with me, then your phone vibrates. You read one message, then another. You hear one piece of bad news. You check your investments. You read another article. You watch another report. Soon, you have spent more time listening to fear than listening to me. By lunchtime, your peace is gone. Not because I left, because your attention did. You began measuring the waves again, the economy, the diagnosis, the election, the market, the uncertainty, the future of your family, the future of your children, the future of your health. You keep measuring the storm, hoping that one day it will become small enough for you to feel safe. But storms have never become smaller, because people stared at them longer. Do you remember another storm? My disciples believed the boat would sink. Some of them had spent their entire lives on that lake. If anyone knew storms, they did, yet panic filled the boat. Meanwhile, I was asleep, not because the storm did not matter, because the storm was never in control. When I stood, I did not ask the wind to calm itself. I did not negotiate with the waves. I spoke, and everything that had been shouting became quiet. My child, there are storms in your life today. Some are called cancer. Some are called debt. Some are called loneliness. Some are called waiting. Some are called grief. Some are called uncertainty. Some are called aging. Some are called children who have walked away from me. They are loud. They demand your attention. They convince you that they will decide how your story ends. But they cannot. Because before any storm reaches you, it must first pass beneath my authority. Before the doctor opens your file, I already know what is written there. Before the company makes its decision, I already know the outcome. Before your child makes a choice, I already know the road ahead. Before another sunrise appears, I am already standing inside it. There has never been one single morning when you arrived before me. Not once. You keep asking, what if something terrible happens? My child, what if something beautiful is already happening that you cannot see yet? What if the delay you hate today is protecting you from a door that would have wounded you? What if the closed opportunity is making room for a better one? What if the unanswered prayer is keeping you from asking for something that would have broken your heart? How many times have you looked back and realized, I'm thankful that didn't happen? At the time, you called it disappointment. Later, you called it mercy. Joseph believed prison had stolen his future. I was preparing a throne. Moses believed 40 years in the wilderness had been wasted. I was preparing a shepherd for a nation. Martha believed death had spoken the final word. I was already walking toward the tomb, again and again. My children mistake silence for absence. They mistake waiting for abandonment. They mistake delay for rejection. But my hands have never stopped working, even on the days when you believed nothing was happening. While you have been worrying, I have been arranging. While you have been waiting, I have been preparing. While you have been wondering, I have been opening doors you cannot yet see. I have been protecting your family from dangers you never knew existed. I have been changing hearts you thought would never change. I have been answering prayers before you finished praying them. My beloved child, that is why I keep asking you to release tomorrow, not because tomorrow is unimportant, but because tomorrow has never belonged to you. It has always belonged to me. Your assignment is much smaller than you think. Love the people in front of you today. Do today's work. Pray today's prayers. Receive today's grace. Walk today's path. Leave tomorrow where it has always been, in my hands. Stay with me, because there is one truth that can quiet every fear you have about the future. Once your heart truly believes it, you will stop asking, how will I survive tomorrow? Instead, you will quietly say, Lord, if you are already there, then I do not have to be afraid of going there too. My beloved child, there is a reason peace has felt so far away. It is not because you do not love me. It is not because you have failed. It is not because your faith is too small. It is because you have been waiting for certainty before allowing yourself to rest. You tell yourself, if I knew what the doctor was going to say, I could finally breathe. If I knew my child would be all right, I could finally sleep. If I knew there would be enough money next month, I could stop checking the account. If I knew this relationship would not end, I could enjoy it. If I knew nothing bad was coming, I could finally feel safe. My child, you have been asking tomorrow to give you peace, but tomorrow has never been able to do that. Even when one question is answered, another one quickly takes its place. The test result comes back normal, and you begin worrying about the next appointment. The bill is paid, and your mind moves to the one due next week. Your child finally calls, and after the conversation ends, you begin wondering whether they told you everything. The difficult month passes, and instead of resting, you start preparing for the next one. You keep believing peace is one answer away, one phone call away, one payment away, one good report away. But each time you receive what you were waiting for, your heart finds something else to watch. My beloved child, peace does not come from knowing that nothing difficult will happen. Peace comes from knowing you will not face anything without me. Think of a small child walking through a crowded place. People are moving in every direction. Cars are passing nearby. The child does not know which way leads home. They cannot read the signs. They do not know what is around the next corner. But they are not afraid. Their hand is inside their Father's hand. They are not calm because they understand the road. They are calm because they know who is holding them. My child, this is what I have been offering you. You keep asking me for a map. I keep offering you my hand. You ask, what will happen? I say, walk with me. You ask, how will this end? I say, stay close to me. You ask, Will I have enough strength? I say, you do not need tomorrow's strength today. You want an answer that will remove every unknown. I want to give you a presence that will remain when the answer is not what you hoped. My beloved child, look back for a moment. There was a season when you thought your heart would never heal. You woke up and for a few seconds forgot what had happened. Then you remembered, and the weight returned. You avoided certain rooms. You stopped listening to certain songs. You kept their message on your phone because deleting it felt like losing them again. You believed you would always feel that way, but little by little, you began making it through the day. One morning, you ate breakfast without crying. One afternoon, you laughed at something, then felt guilty for laughing. One evening, you realized you had gone several hours without thinking about the pain. Healing did not arrive all at once. It came quietly, and I was there in every small step. There was another season when you looked at your finances and did not know how everything would be paid. You moved numbers from one place to another. You delayed what could wait. You stood in the grocery aisle, put something back on the shelf, then checked the total again before paying. You wondered how much longer you could keep going. Then help came. Perhaps it was an extra shift. Perhaps someone paid you back. Perhaps an opportunity appeared that you had not known existed. Perhaps someone placed money in your hand and said, I felt I should help. You called it good timing. But my child, I had not forgotten the bill on your table. I had not missed the prayer you whispered in the car. I had not ignored the way you stood in the kitchen, trying to decide what could be stretched for one more week. I was there. There was a relationship you begged me to keep. You explained why it mattered. You promised you would try harder. You asked me to change their heart. When it ended, you felt abandoned. You replayed every conversation. You wondered what you should have said differently. You watched them continue without you and questioned whether you had ever mattered. At the time, you saw only rejection. Later, you began noticing what that relationship had been doing to you. How often you apologized for things that were not your fault. How carefully you chose your words. How small you had become, trying to keep someone from leaving, what you called loss. I was slowly turning into freedom. My child, there are things you once begged me to give you that you now thank me for withholding. There are doors you cried over that you would not enter today even if they reopened. There are people you thought you could not live without, whose absence taught you how much of yourself you had lost. There are delays you hated that kept you from arriving at the wrong place, at the wrong time, with the wrong person. You did not understand then. You could only see the closed door. You could not see what was behind it, my beloved child. This is why I ask you not to measure my care only by what you can see today. You see the silence after your prayer. I see what is still being prepared. You see the interview that did not lead to a job. I see the workplace you were spared from entering. You see the relationship that did not return. I see the pain that would have continued. You see the delay. I see the timing. You see one moment. I see the road beyond it. I know there were times when my silence hurt you. You prayed, then checked your phone. You prayed again, then waited for the email. You walked past the mailbox. You refreshed the page. You listened for the doctor's call. You watched the calendar. Nothing changed. The room stayed quiet. The answer did not come. And you wondered, Lord, are you listening? My child, I was. I heard you the first time. I heard the prayer you spoke clearly. I heard the prayer you could not finish. I heard the question you were afraid to ask. I heard the words beneath the words. But my silence was never proof that I had walked away. A farmer places a seed in the ground, then sees nothing for many days. The field looks unchanged. The soil remains closed. There is no leaf, no flower, no harvest. Someone passing by might say, "Nothing is happening here." But beneath the ground, the seed has opened. A root has begun reaching downward. Life is forming where no one can see it. My beloved child, much of my work in your life begins the same way, quietly, hidden from you, without an announcement, without a sign you can hold. While you are saying, "Nothing is changing," a conversation may already be happening. A heart may already be softening. A person may already be considering your name. A door may already be opening. A danger may already be passing around you. An answer may already be moving toward you. Through people you have not met yet. You judge the ground because you cannot see the root, but I see both. My child, not every delay means the answer is coming in the form you expect. Sometimes I am preparing what you asked for. Sometimes I am preparing you for something different. Sometimes I am teaching you to release what cannot remain. Sometimes I am protecting you from receiving too early what would become a burden instead of a blessing. Sometimes the answer is not yes. Sometimes it is not yet. Sometimes it is, "My child, I know where that road leads. Trust me enough not to walk it." I know that is difficult. I know you would rather have a clear explanation. You want to know why the door closed, why the person changed, why the prayer took so long, why the healing did not happen as quickly as you hoped, why you had to wait while others seemed to move forward. You want me to show you the entire picture, but there are moments when an explanation would not give you peace. It would only give your mind something new to analyze. So instead of giving you every detail, I remain beside you. I stay with you in the waiting room. I sit with you while the phone remains silent. I stay near when you open the email. I walk beside you when you leave disappointed. I hold you while you try to accept an answer you did not want. My presence is not a smaller gift than certainty. It is the only gift that can carry you when certainty is impossible. My beloved child, you have often believed peace would begin after the problem ended, after the result came, after the person returned, after the money arrived, after the pain stopped. But some of the deepest peace you have ever known came while the problem was still present. Remember the night when nothing had changed, but after praying, you finally slept. Remember the appointment when you were still afraid, but someone took your hand and you felt you could breathe again. Remember the season when you still did not know what would happen, yet for one quiet moment, you knew you were not alone. That was peace, not the absence of trouble, the awareness of my presence inside it. My child, I have been closer than you realized. I was beside you in the church pew when you smiled at everyone, then cried in the car before driving home. I was beside you in the hospital hallway when the doors closed and you had to wait. I was beside you at the kitchen table when the numbers did not add up. I was beside you when you opened the closet and saw their clothes still hanging there. I was beside you when you read the message, then read it again, hoping the words would somehow change. I was beside you when you sat on the edge of the bed, too tired to pray. I did not ask you for the right words. I stayed. My beloved child, there are many things I protected you from that you will never know about. The road you almost took, the person whose intentions you never discovered, the mistake that was interrupted, the conversation that happened without you, the delay that kept you home, the decision someone changed at the last moment. You may never see those moments. You may never know how close some dangers came before turning away. You may never know how many times I answered a prayer by preventing something rather than providing something. You often notice the door I open. You rarely notice the one I quietly keep closed. But both can be my love. One day, you will understand more than you do now. You will see moments that looked empty, and discover they were full of my care. You will see days when you thought I was doing nothing, and realize how much was being held together. You will see prayers answered in ways you did not recognize at the time. You will see why some people left, why some plans failed, why some roads became difficult, why some answers came late. And you will know my hands were never still. But my child, you do not have to wait until that day to trust me today. You do not have to understand every closed door before placing your hand in mine. You do not have to know how the story ends before receiving the peace available in this moment. Look around you. There may still be a question without an answer. There may still be an appointment on the calendar. There may still be an unpaid bill. There may still be a relationship you cannot fix. There may still be a person you miss. There may still be a decision you do not know how to make. I am not asking you to pretend those things do not matter. I am asking you to stop facing them as though I am not here. My beloved child, peace is not hidden inside next week's answer. It is here, in this breath, in this room, in this moment, in the hand I am extending toward you. Take it. You do not need to understand the whole road. You only need to walk the part in front of you, with me. Stay with me, because there is one final truth I want to place deep inside your heart, a truth for the night when the room becomes quiet again, a truth for the next time fear asks you, what if tomorrow changes everything? A truth that will remain after this message ends, after the screen grows dark, and after tomorrow finally arrives. My beloved child, before this time together ends, there is one truth I want you to remember. The next time the house becomes quiet, the next time the phone rings late, the next time you see an appointment on the calendar, and your mind begins running ahead of you, tomorrow has never surprised me. The day you are afraid of is not hidden from me. The conversation you keep rehearsing, I already know. The result you are waiting for, I already see. The room you are afraid to enter, I am already inside it. The doctor's office, the hospital hallway, the courtroom, the interview, the bank, the empty apartment, the family gathering where everyone will notice who is missing, the kitchen table where a difficult conversation must happen, the parking lot where you may sit for a few minutes before finding the strength to walk inside. My child, there is no place waiting for you tomorrow where my presence has not already arrived. You have never opened a door and found me standing outside. You have never stepped into a difficult day that I had not already seen. You have never received a phone call that made me ask, what will we do now? Before the words reached your ears, I knew them. Before your hands began to shake, my hands were already holding you. Before tomorrow reaches you, it reaches me. That is why I keep asking you to give tomorrow back to me. Not because tomorrow does not matter, not because your fears are foolish, not because the people you love are unimportant. I ask because I see what carrying tomorrow is doing to you. I see you checking the time during the night, calculating how many hours remain before morning. I see you opening your eyes, remembering the problem, and feeling tired before your feet touch the floor. I see you walking through today, while your thoughts are already standing in next week. I see you spending strength on things that have not happened. I see you missing conversations, because your mind is trying to solve another day. My beloved child, you do not have to live this way. I am not asking you to understand everything. I am not asking you to become fearless overnight. I am not asking you to stop caring. I am asking you to walk with me through the day that is actually in front of you. One morning, one meal, one phone call, one payment, one conversation, one decision, one prayer, one step. That is enough. When my people walked through the wilderness, I did not hand them a map of every mile ahead. I gave them a cloud for the day and fire for the night. They could not see the whole journey. They could only see where to walk next. Some mornings, the path looked familiar. Other mornings, the desert stretched farther than they wanted to see, but the cloud was still there. When night came, the fire remained. They did not need light for next year. They needed light for the ground beneath their feet. My child, you have been asking me to show you the entire road. You want to know which door will open, which person will stay, which treatment will work, which bill will be paid first, which prayer will be answered the way you hope. You want to know where the difficult road ends before you agree to take the first step. But I have not promised you a view of the whole road. I have promised you my presence on it. A map can show you where to go, but it cannot hold you when your legs become weak. A calendar can tell you when the appointment will happen, but it cannot sit beside you in the waiting room. A bank statement can show you what remains, but it cannot give peace to your heart. A medical report can name what is happening in your body, but it cannot decide whether I am still with you. My beloved child, you keep asking for something you can hold in your hands. An answer, a date, a guarantee, a sign. And I keep offering you my hand. Take it. You do not need to see the end of the road to walk the next few steps with me. When your mind begins saying, "What if everything falls apart?" do not argue with every fear. Do not spend another hour trying to prove that nothing bad will happen. Bring your mind back to what is here. Look at the room around you. Feel your feet on the floor. Take the next breath. Notice the people who are still beside you. Then say, "Lord, this day belongs to you." If the bill is on the table, open only the bill that is there. Do not add every future expense to it. If the appointment is next week, write down the questions you need to ask. Then return to today. If your child has not called, send the message you can send. Then place them in my hands. If the conversation must happen tomorrow, do not have it 20 times tonight. You will receive the words when the person is sitting in front of you. My child, I am not asking you to ignore your responsibilities. Pay what you can pay. Make the appointment. Take the medication. Have the conversation. Ask for help. Prepare wisely. But when you have done what belongs to today, stop. Do not continue working in your mind after there is nothing more your hands can do. There comes a moment when responsibility ends and trust begins. You were not created to stay awake, trying to keep the world from changing. You were created to sleep while I remain awake. My beloved child, I am your shepherd today. Not only when life becomes easier, today, I am your refuge today. Not only after the answer arrives, today, I am your strength today. Not only when you feel strong, today, I am your peace today. Not only when every problem disappears, today, and when tomorrow becomes today, I will still be the same. I will not be more tired. I will not be less attentive. I will not have forgotten your name. I will not need to be reminded of your situation. I will not overlook the person you have been praying for. I will not lose track of the details that feel too small to tell anyone else. I know the number on the bill. I know the date of the appointment. I know the name on the medical file. I know the message you are waiting to receive. I know the child who has stopped calling. I know the marriage that feels quiet. I know the chair that has been empty since someone left. I know the room you keep avoiding. I know what wakes you at 3 in the morning. Nothing about your life is too small for me to notice, or too large for me to hold. My child, think about the days you once believed would be the end of you. The day the phone rang, the day the person left, the day the doctor spoke, the day the job ended, the day you stood beside the grave, the day you closed the door behind someone and knew life would never be the same. You did not know how to live the following week. You did not know how to make the next decision. You did not know how to explain what had happened. But you made it through the next hour, then the next morning, then another day. You did not receive strength for the whole season at once. You received enough to answer one call, enough to eat one meal, enough to take one shower, enough to sign one paper, enough to sit beside one person, enough to pray one sentence, enough to keep going until night. My beloved child, that was not weakness. That was how I carried you, and it is how I will carry you again. One day, you will look back on this season and remember how certain you were that everything would fall apart. You will remember the nights you checked the clock. You will remember how many times you opened the same message. You will remember the appointment that filled your thoughts. You will remember the bill that sat unopened on the table. You will remember the name you whispered into your pillow. And you will see that the tomorrow you feared became another day I walked through with you. Perhaps the answer will come the way you hope. Perhaps the road will look different from what you asked for. But no matter what happens, you will not be able to say, I went there alone. You will see that I was stronger than the fear, closer than the loneliness, more patient than your waiting, more faithful than your doubt. My beloved child, before you sleep tonight, I want you to name what you have been carrying. Do not say only, my future. Be honest with me. Say the name of the person. Say the amount you do not know how to pay. Say the result you are afraid to receive. Say the conversation you have been avoiding. Say the mistake you cannot undo. Say the child you cannot reach. Say the loss you are afraid will happen again. Say it plainly. Then give it to me. You may need to give it to me more than once. You may place it in my hands, then pick it up again 10 minutes later. Do not be ashamed. Bring it back. Every time your mind reaches for it, place it in my hands again. Lord, my child belongs to you. Lord, this appointment belongs to you. Lord, this bill belongs to you. Lord, this marriage belongs to you. Lord, this body belongs to you. Lord, this decision belongs to you. Lord, tomorrow belongs to you. My child, trust is not always one great moment. Sometimes trust is a small decision, repeated many times through the night. It is closing the banking app because you have already checked. It is putting the phone face down because you have already sent the message. It is turning off the light because there is nothing else you can solve tonight. It is taking one slow breath and saying, I will deal with tomorrow. When I arrive there with you, my beloved child, as you rest, I will remain awake. You do not need to listen for every sound in the house. You do not need to check the door again. You do not need to imagine where everyone you love might be. You do not need to keep watch over every life connected to yours. I am already with them. I am with the son, whose choices keep you awake. I am with the daughter, who no longer tells you everything. I am with the husband, whose health has begun to change. I am with the wife, who carries more than she admits. I am with the parent, whose memory is slowly fading. I am with the friend, who lives far away. I am with the person, whose name you still pray when no one is listening. You cannot be in every room. You cannot answer every need. You cannot prevent every painful choice. You cannot hold every person together. But I can be where you cannot, and I already am. So rest. Not because every question has been answered. Rest because you have done what you can for today. Rest because I have not changed. Rest because I am still watching. Rest because the people you love are not outside the reach of my hands. Rest because tomorrow is not an empty place, waiting for you to enter alone. It is already held by me. Before the alarm rings, I will be there. Before you remember what you were worried about, I will be there. Before your feet touch the floor, I will be there. Before the first message arrives, I will be there before the meeting begins. I will be there before the doctor enters the room. I will be there before anyone speaks the words you fear. I will be there, and after the day is over, I will still be there. My beloved child, before tomorrow reaches you, it reaches me. Before the news reaches your ears, it passes through my knowledge. Before fear begins telling its story, my love has already spoken. Before your strength is needed, I will provide it. Before your heart begins to break, my arms will already be around you. Nothing you face tomorrow will be greater than the one who goes before you. So close your eyes tonight without carrying the whole week into bed. Do not solve next month before morning. Do not grieve a loss I have not asked you to face. Do not say goodbye to someone who is still here. Do not spend today's strength on tomorrow's unfinished story. Sleep. Let the house become quiet. Let the phone remain unanswered until morning. Let the unopened envelope stay on the table for one night. Let the appointment remain on the calendar. Let the people you love rest without checking on them one more time. You are not abandoning your responsibilities. You are placing them where they have always belonged, in my hands. And when morning comes, open your eyes, take the next breath, and walk into the day with me. You will not be walking into a future where no one knows your name. You will be walking into another day where your Father has already been waiting for you. Amen.